James Van Der Beek, the actor who helped define a generation of teen television, has passed away at the age of 48, and the world of entertainment is mourning deeply. For millions of fans, he wasn't just an actor. He was Dawson Leery. He was the sensitive dreamer with a camcorder, the hopeless romantic trying to understand love, friendship, and growing up. From 1998 to 2003, Dawson's Creek became more than just a TV show, it became a cultural moment. And at the center of it all stood James Van Der Beek. Following the heartbreaking news of his death, the official Dawson's Creek social media accounts, alongside Sony Pictures Television, released a moving tribute honoring the man who brought Dawson to life. Alongside a photo of a young, smiling James from his early days on the show, the message read that his iconic portrayal of Dawson Leery helped define a generation of television for fans and continues to resonate with audiences today. And that statement couldn't be more true. For 6 seasons, James starred alongside Katie Holmes, Joshua Jackson, and Michelle Williams, forming one of the most beloved casts in teen drama history. Their on-screen chemistry translated into real-life friendships that lasted decades. Even after the cameras stopped rolling, the bond remained unbreakable. In recent years, that bond became even more important. In November 2024, James publicly revealed that he had been battling stage 3 colorectal cancer, a diagnosis he had been privately dealing with since August 2023. He admitted that hearing the news after a colonoscopy sent him into shock. Nothing about the journey had happened on his preferred timeline. In fact, he had planned to share the news in his own way, in a thoughtful and in-depth conversation. But when he learned a tabloid was about to break the story, he chose to speak out himself. Despite the devastating diagnosis, James spoke with optimism. He explored multiple treatment options, from conventional chemotherapy and surgery to alternative therapies, determined to fight. "If you've heard about it, I've probably touched on it," he once said about possible treatments. There was hope in his voice. There was courage. And through it all, his castmates stood beside him. Joshua Jackson revealed on a podcast that the Dawson's Creek family rallied together behind James during his health battle. He described their connection as something forged in fire, through good days, bad days, arguments, love, and growth. The kind of bond that only forms when you go through something life-changing together at a young age. In September 2025, the cast reunited in New York City for a charity event benefiting cancer. Fans hoped to see James there in person. Unfortunately, illness prevented him from attending. But in a touching moment, he appeared through a pre-recorded video message, expressing gratitude and disappointment at not being able to stand on stage with everyone. "I can't believe I'm not there," he told the audience. He thanked every cast member, crew member, and supporter who showed up. At the time, he explained his absence was due to 2 stomach viruses unrelated to his cancer. Even then, he maintained grace and humility. Later that year, in an effort to raise funds for his ongoing treatment and family support, James began auctioning memorabilia from his career. Props, scripts, treasured items from his Hollywood journey, pieces of nostalgia he had held onto for years. Letting them go was bittersweet, but he described it as the right time. He was thinking not only of himself, but of his family. James leaves behind his wife, Kimberly, and their 6 children. In a heartbreaking Instagram statement, Kimberly announced his passing, saying he met his final days with courage, faith, and grace. She described him as a loving husband, father, son, brother, and friend, and asked for privacy as the family grieves. Tributes poured in almost immediately. Busy Phillips, who joined Dawson's Creek in later seasons, shared her devastation publicly. She described him as 1 in a billion. She spoke of her heartbreak for his wife and children. She reminded fans that behind the television icon was a deeply kind human being who loved fiercely and lived with intention. There is something profoundly symbolic about James Van Der Beek's story. He once played a character obsessed with storytelling, destiny, and capturing life on camera. In reality, he faced his own story with vulnerability and strength. He spoke openly about fear, about shock, about uncertainty, and about faith. For many fans who grew up watching Dawson's Creek, this loss feels personal. It feels like losing a piece of youth, a piece of late 90s and early 2000s nostalgia. But beyond the nostalgia lies something deeper: gratitude. Gratitude for the art he created. Gratitude for the honesty he showed in illness. Gratitude for the reminder that time, as one of his former co-stars once said, is sacred. James Van Der Beek helped define a generation on screen. Off-screen, he showed what courage looks like in real life. And while Dawson's Creek may have ended years ago, the impact of James Van Der Beek will continue to resonate, in living rooms, in streaming queues, in memories of adolescence, and in the hearts of those who loved him. He was more than a character. He was part of our story. And he will be deeply missed.